tonight. My guest tonight was, of course, a cast member on Saturday Night Live, and he won an Emmy for his role in his brilliant HBO series, Barry. Please welcome one of my all-time favorite funny people, Bill Hader! I have to say, I'm going to start out by thanking you from the bottom of my heart because when we started imagining these last couple of shows, you put it off. We knew that we were going to wind it down. And then they started to ask me who I'd like to be there. And I said just very few names, and one that was really important to me was Bill. You,
man.
because
That's
you're one of the...
Thanks, man. Thank you.
I've known you for a bunch of years, for so many years, and you're just make me laugh. There's people that make me laugh, and then you just make me laugh to the point where I'm like visibly unsettled. And
that's insane.
Yeah.
Well, that's crazy for me to hear. You know, my very first time ever on a talk show was your show, and so in 1993, let's all go back there.
Do we have to?
Yeah, let's go back to 1993. And we had off-campus lunch at my high school, and I would go to my friend Jake Thomas's house, and we would eat macaroni and cheese, and he would tape this new show, Late Night Conan O'Brien, and I would watch it with him, and we would just laugh until we were sick, and it was the first thing in comedy that was mine. It was the first thing that my parents didn't understand.
Yeah. Mine still don't understand.
Yeah, but my parents didn't get it. But so then when I was I got on Saturday Night Live and they said, hey, you're gonna go do Conan. I was freaking out, and it was my first. I didn't sleep the night before. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And I went out and we did it, and you were horrible to me. You were just a.
That's what I do with the young guys.
Yeah.
I just try and set the bar. I just let them know.
Eye contact. Yep. They went to commercial, and you were like, "Oh, big man." Oh, barrel-chested boy. Like, barrel. I was looking at you for help, and you were like, barrel-chested man.
Yeah. And then I fought you in the parking lot.
You
Remember?
did.
I bullied you, and I fought you.
Yeah, I was walking out to my car, and you went, "Not so fast, barrel-chested man. I'm gonna fight you." And I was like, "You're my hero." You're like, get up, featured player. Get up, you get up.
I did this with everyone. You got to understand.
Oh,
this is my initiation. I know. What's interesting is you are so much fun. I've been in situations where I hang around with you, and we're supposed to be working and crafting something or making something happen, and we just goof around. And I'm imagining now you're working with Larry David on Curb Your Enthusiasm, and I know Larry must delight in having you around just because you're so much fun.
Yes, so I did an episode of Curb for next season, and Larry, he loves old-time impressions, so he's like my full-on audience, like my small demographic. When I did Vincent Price on SNL, Lorne Michaels came up to me and he went, "I love this, but why now?" But Larry is just, and if you can make Larry laugh, he's like, but he loved, like George McCready and all these people, but he loved Burt Lancaster, and
And this is probably an impression that a lot of young people don't know, but Burt Lancaster, one of the great film stars.
One of the great film stars, and people have been doing impersonations of him forever, but I was a PA on this movie, and the wardrobe guy goes, I used to work for Burt Lancaster, and I brought him chowder one day. I'm gonna give that a second.
Burt Lancaster getting his chowder.
Getting his chowder. And they brought him his chowder, and it was in a paper bag. And he said, Burt Lancaster looked in the paper bag, and he stared in there for a long time. And then he looked up, and he went, "Oyster crackers." You forgot the oyster crackers. that, and Larry went, so I just walked around going, oyster crackers.
You're a movie buff. What films are you watching these days?
I like to watch British crime movies where you can't understand what anybody's saying. Those are my favorite kind. I was watching Sexy Beast the other day.
Oh, I love that movie, yeah.
Yeah, Sexy Beast is great. But you watch those and it's all like, all right, we're gonna go down Spain. We're gonna go down to Spain. And I'm like, all right, they're gonna go down to Spain. It's like, then we're gonna get Gal to do a job. And I'm like, hey, all right, they're gonna get Gal to do a job. He's like, and they were gonna buff up, but the dog was sick. What? And then they're in a restaurant. I'm like, oh, they're gonna rob the restaurant. They're like, all right, well, the calamari. And I'm like, oh, they're eating at the restaurant. Oh, okay. Oh, they're on a plane. Okay, they're gonna hijack the plane now. This is what the story is about. And it's like, I like this plane. And you're like, oh, they're enjoying their flight. Oh, this is crazy. And they're like, but I just sit and watch those for hours.
Right.
And then the auto commentary is terrible because it's like, this is the scene where we lock that for
You did it just a second ago, so I have to ask you about it. Everybody who's worked at Saturday Night Live, pretty much everybody does a Lorne Michaels impression. We've all worked for him. Obviously a great man, a huge influence on all of us. But you do, for my money, one of the very best Lorne Michaels impressions, and you do one specific, just like looking at the oyster crackers, looking for oyster crackers as brilliant. You do one of Lorne when you took a flight with Lorne. Is that right?
Yeah, I flew with Lorne from New York to LA after a show. So we did the SNL and we were like, good night. And then it was like we had to rush to get on his plane to LA for the Emmys. And I was on the plane with Seth Meyers and Fred Armisen, and I go, I've never been on Lorne's plane before. This is really exciting. And they're like, yeah. You know, you should sit in the back with him. And I was like, really? Oh, wow. So I sat down with Lorne, and he talks, like, he tells you everything about Saturday Night Live, and it's the coolest thing, but I was so exhausted, and he talked the entire time, and he'd be like, and that man was Chevy Chase. And then you wake up, and he'd be like, and Dick Ebersol said, it's really your show. You wake up, and it's like, and Ray Charles said they all owe me money. You wake up and he's like, and that's how you grow blueberries in May. The sun is coming up. And I'm looking back and there's Fred and Seth sleeping all peacefully. And I'm like, oh gosh, this is gonna be a quiz, Like, now when did Chevy leave, Bill? Yeah.
How do you grow blueberries?
How do you grow the blueberries? Do you mash them with your feet? That's wine!
He can eject you from the plane at any
I'm like,
time.
yeah.
Seth Rogen's coming on the show tomorrow. I know you've worked with Seth a lot. They did it, but they're masked. You couldn't hear it.
Yeah.
Do you have any impressions of Seth? You must have worked with him a bunch over. I know you have in many films. And
Seth. I remember when we did Superbad. I was like, I like to wear glasses because I used to get. We played cops in that movie, and I was always. We get. What do you call it? Not arrested, but messed with when I was growing up by this cop, and you wore glasses. And when a cop wears glasses, you're just kind of like, okay. I don't know. There's something about a cop in glasses, and I was like, I'd like to wear glasses, and then it becomes a thing where they bring out the glasses, and they're showing me this, whatever. And I tried on so many glasses, and then I go, what should I wear? And they go, well, Seth, what do you think? And he's like, I really don't give a shit. He can literally wear like whatever the he wants. I mean, I don't really care. It makes zero difference to me. It's like, no one cares. So yeah.
Now, a lot of movies with Seth were Judd Apatow films.
Yeah.
And so just trying to coax a little Judd Apatow out of you. I mean, people know his movies, and Judd gets out there and he does stand up and stuff, so people are getting to learn his rhythm.
Yeah, Judd was always like, I was in Trainwreck and with him, and he would direct. Judd's thing is you say something to him and he goes, Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's funny. That's very funny. He sounds like he's had a cold since he was 2 years old. And he's always like, oh, that's funny. That's funny. I like that. That's good. Yeah, that's good. And then he'll say, like, his answer to everything, he's like, what the interesting thing is, you just want to see how up you are. And Amy Schumer were like, right?
Yeah.
Like, just like how totally,
Little air coming out of his
Just
mouth.
a little air coming out. Yeah, his death rattle will be like, Lost it. The death was exactly a...
You do an impression that no one does, and he's been with us for so long, and he's such an icon, but no one does him because he's very specific. Alan Alda.
Oh, yeah, I did Alan Alda. I did more impressions here than my SNL audition.
Yeah.
What is happening?
So far, you're doing pretty well. By the way, when we go to dinner, this is what it's like. I'm just like, more.
Give it to me, please.
I want more! Lorne again! Lorne talking about serial killers.
The thing about John Wayne Gacy. The thing about John Wayne Gacy, always said thank you. I did Alan Alda. I did auditioning. Colin Jost wrote a sketch where I was Alan Alda auditioning for Biff in Back to the Future. And I was like, hey, why don't you make like a tree and get out of here? I gotta tell you, this is just great. I love this. This is a great movie.
Such a great impression. No one does that, by the way.
Peter Serafinowicz does a pretty good one, but but I met him once, and he was like, hey, you could do my ADR, and I was like, no.
Now, you did something for us once, and it was so great. You don't have to do it. I just loved it. It was one of my favorite things you did, which was an impression of a dying tauntaun. And again, it's not required.
I did it. You had me do it. You've had me do that more than once.
Who
you
can
like
count?
It so much.
Once,
people
twice.
Do people know what tauntauns were in Star Wars? Yeah. George Lucas is at home like.
More for me!
They know it. All of them there. You see that? They all knew it. They didn't know Burt Lancaster. They didn't know the son of the server. They knew that, didn't they? Honey, take this cigar out of your mouth. Sorry. But a tauntaun kind of goes like this. And then it goes... And then it dies, it goes... Barry is on HBO.
I have to, before you go, I'm just curious about one thing, which is we both have in common working at Saturday Night Live. I worked there long before you, but I just love, and people always push me for this, but people always ask me, what was the sketch that went terribly wrong when you were there?
Oh.
Was there ever a sketch at SNL that went so terribly wrong?
Yes. There is a bunch
Because people
of bad sketches.
they don't get to see these.
So I was, one of the first movies I worked on was a movie called Purple Violets, and it was directed by Ed Burns. Mm-hmm. And he is a very nice guy, but I was listening to him talk all day, and I would go back to the office and I would do Ed Burns, and I would watch his movies, so it'd be like, his movies are all kind of like, the girl I like, instead of a cop, she wants to be a firefighter. And so I'd written this sketch when Paul Rudd had hosted,
right.
And it was a sketch where it was called Ed Burns Grill Boys, and it was us grilling. Now, they didn't, okay, so And we're like, hey, you know, hey, Ma, hey, the pop. Yeah, you know, we'd do that. And we went out there to do an address, and I did the voice, but Paul, for some reason, would not do the voice. And I don't understand why Paul decided not to do it.
How dare you? How dare you?
See, why didn't you do that?
I can do the voice. I did the voice.
Well, what happened? So you disagree that the sketch...
Bill's memory is very hazy.
Yeah.
Now, I might not be a trained monkey boy like your man over here with the voices. But if I remember correctly, I did do the voice. The reason the sketch didn't work is that it was terrible. We were standing around, both of us, as Ed Burns, just talking about our pop and grilling meat.
And it was hilarious.
We thought it was funny,
I thought it was
but
funny.
it was a construct, it was an idea that just did not fly.
Yeah, it didn't work. Yeah, it didn't work.
In fact, this is true. Lorne said in his history with the show, it was the worst received sketch
That's fantastic.
of all time.
Yeah.
We did an address and it didn't get not one laugh, not one. Thankfully, they actually do film the dress rehearsals.
They do.
If you would like to see the
No.
sketch.
Would you
like to see that?
Are you serious?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, shit.
Yes, and you will see what I'm talking about. Play the sketch. Oh my gosh! So you can see why it bombed.
I didn't think.
Whoever dies first, you have to do that at the other one's funeral.
Yeah. You know what I can't believe is, how many years has it been? It's been like 25 years of you coming on the show, and you would never show, you'd always say, I've got a clip, and you would, every time, for years, I would be convinced that I would see the real clip because you're such a genuinely nice person. And you would say, no, this movie's really important to me, and I put my own money into this, and I really care about this. And then you pull that shit every time.
I never really imagined 20 years ago
Yeah.
that here we would be.
Yeah. Well,
And
someone obviously on the internet put together, they didn't even do all of them.
No.
But you can see, I mean, you don't age, but you see me go from like a, here's Paul Rudd, to like, you know, just rotting pumpkin head. And you see it happen over a period of years, and it's absolutely stunning.
Well-
It's this crazy performance art that lasts forever.
I just remember the very first time thinking, it's so artificial to come on and sell your wares and show a clip from your movie. And what if I just show a clip from another movie?
Right, right.
We've never talked about this really, but I thought, what if I show a clip from this movie that I saw a long time ago? That is just really strange. And there's one scene in particular, but I was kind of waffling because there is another movie that I was obsessed with at the time that was equally like, who was this made for?
Yeah.
Called Baby Geniuses.
Baby Geniuses. Does anyone know Baby? Oh, okay.
Bob Clark.
Yeah.
Right. That's right.
So there was actually a contender.
There was a contender. There was this idea. There was this scene. I remember a baby. They're breeding these super babies or something, and one of them escapes, and these, I don't know, like 7 or 8 grown men chase after him, and then the baby jumps out and just beats the shit out of all of these grown-ups. And there's this kind of demonic laugh that just keeps recycling over and over again, and it's clearly a little person just beating up these. But it was so bizarre, and I'd always, the whole time,
Did you almost go with that then?
I almost did. I never showed, obviously I just stuck with this, but I always was thinking about this clip. And I thought seeing it is your last week. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
There was no way that I would not come. And I was wondering if it was all right, I could show you the other clip that I was thinking about.
I want to see it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Love you, pal. Bill Hader! Look for Barry, season 3. Bill Hader, Paul Rudd. I love these guys.